This is to help you get on track with what your teacher's doing. Today you should be doing this in class, completing the square when a is not equal to 1. And then on Friday, you're going to be using what we call the quadratic formula. This one's actually pretty easy. You just have to memorize it. It's basically this. Okay, and you basically just plug in the numbers. A on the bottom, the B's, and right over here. Okay, so you just basically plug it in. Now you'll probably need some help with simplifying the radical, but I'll help you with that on Monday. But this, I know you're going to have some questions. So I'm going to make a little video and use this video to really figure out how to do this on your own. Okay. All right. If you take a look here, now we know how to do this. Okay. So this is when a is equal to 1. What does that mean? The number in front of the first term is 1. This term right here is your letter B. This term right over here is your letter what? Letter C. And you should know how to do this, but I'm just going to do one real fast. Okay, so again, when you have an equal sign right here, you have to solve for x. You need to make it into a situation where you'll have like x equals like an answer. Most of the time you'll have 2. Not always, but most of the time you'll have 2. Okay, so x squared plus 6x, and then I'm going to move the 5 to the other side. Okay, you should know that. And this little empty spot right over here, we're going to add a special number that's going to help us make it into a perfect square, right? And you do that by taking the letter B, which is number 6, dividing it by 2. So we're going to divide that by 2. It'll become 3. And then when you square it, you'll get 9. So 9 is the special number that you want to add to both sides, like this. Okay? All right, now it's a perfect square. You can factor this out. As I told you before, it'll always be something like this, where the square root of 9 will be placed right here. So this will be x plus 3, and 9 minus 5 is 4. And then from here, you square root both sides so that you can get rid of this square right over here. So this will become x plus 3 equals, and again, plus or minus 2. And then you move the 3 to the other side like this. And so you give two answers. Negative 3 minus 2, you'll get x equals negative 5. And negative 3 plus 2, you'll get negative 1. So these two are your solutions to this quadratic function using the method of completing the square. Now remember, completing the square is just one of the 3 methods. There's 2 more, factoring and quadratics. Okay, now what do you do when there's a number like this in the front? Now, this is when your teacher will say, that's what she's trying to teach you this week. When a is not equal to 1. Okay, so there are you got to do things. You can't use the same method that you used here. There's some things you have to do. Okay, all right. So let's again clarify. This right here is your letter A. So A is equal to 4. B in this situation is negative 8, and C is 1. Now, you cannot complete the square when the number in front of the first term is not a 1. Okay, so 4 needs to change into a 1. Now, to do this, there's 2 ways, but I'm just going to show you one way, which I think your teacher's going to take. Okay, and then if your teacher doesn't do it that way, I'll show you the other way as well. But because there's an equal sign, okay, and you can only do this when there's an equal sign, you can take the equation that you have and basically try to get rid of this number by simply dividing by that number. So if there's a 4 there, then divide everything by the number 4. See it? Okay. And so notice right here what's going to happen. This is going to become just x squared minus 2x plus 1/4 equals 0. And now, because you have a 1 in front of x squared, now you can do your complete the square just like the way you did the other problems. Okay? So again, you should know this now. We're going to move the 4th to the other side. And then we want our special number. Oops. Let's say negative. Okay, so we're going to take this number right over here, which is 2. Divided by 2, you'll get 1. If you square 1, you'll still get a 1. So you're going to add 1 to both sides. Okay? So again, you now take this and divide it by 2 and you square it. You cannot take 8. Why? Because there's a 4 in front of x squared. You can only take that middle number in front of in front of x, when you divide it out and you end up with a 1 in front of x squared. And that's the key. You have to remember that. So now this will become x minus 1 squared. And negative 1/4 plus 1, that will become 3 what? 3/4. And then you square root both sides, and you get something like this. X minus 1 equals plus or minus square root of 3 over 2. So x is equal to 1 plus or minus radical 3 over 2. And this is your answer. Okay, we want to leave it like this because we cannot compute the square root of 3 over 2 by hand. This will either be a decimal approximation, but it's better to leave it like this. Okay, here's a couple more. Now, here. Now you need to understand this. When there's an equal sign, okay, you need to solve for x. But here, notice, it says here, convert to vertex form. Now, sometimes they'll do this. Even though there's an equal sign, it's not set equal to 0 or some number. Here, you'll notice that it's equal to a number, but there's no other letter. It's just x. Then you have to actually solve, okay? Like x equals. But in this case, they want you to what? Convert, and this is what you're going to be doing later, to vertex form by completing the square method. Now, I'm going to use both of these and give you an example of how to complete the square. So again, let's start over. 4x squared plus 16x. And I'm just going to leave the 12 on the other side. Now, because it's an equation, what am I going to do first? I'm going to divide everything by 4. Why? I don't want this 4 in front of x squared. Okay? So this will become x squared plus 4x equals negative 3. Now, you can take the number 4 right over here in the middle and do your thing. Divide by 2 and you square it. So this will become x squared plus 4x. Plus, see, if you take 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. And then this will become x plus 2 squared equals what? 1. And you can finish off the problem.